Welcome to the Art Coaching Club podcast. I'm your host, Haley Price, artist, owner of the online art gallery, The Scouted Studio, and business coach for artists. With experience starting and running my own art business, growing an online art gallery, and coaching artists internationally on how to grow their careers, I've learned the art world inside and out. I've made all of the mistakes so you don't have to. Every episode will be a little bit different, but I promise that each week I will show you how to tackle your biggest business challenges so you can get back in the studio doing what you love. Now let's get into it. Things off, will you introduce yourself to the listeners and tell a little bit about who you are and what you do as an artist?
My name is Lucy. I'm Lucy White. I am an artist. I just quit my corporate job. I used to work at JP Morgan and I worked there for about 3 years. Before that, I worked in the fashion industry for about 3 years. And both times I ended up quitting both of those jobs to be an artist. And the first time I quit my job, I got the job at JP Morgan the same day. And it was like a very serendipitous moment. And it was kind of just like not the right time to leave corporate America, that is. And then the second time, which was just a couple weeks ago, I just like went all in. And so now I'm an artist full time. And I just launched my first wallpaper collection. And that's kind of my art focus right now.
Yeah, I love that. What made you feel ready to leave your job? Was it something at the job and you were like, I'm just ready to get out? Or were you like, oh, I'm at a certain point in my career and like it's time? And maybe
It,
what's difference between both times that
yeah.
you thought about leaving?
Oh my gosh. Like the first time, the first time that I was leaving my job, I was 25. I just turned 25. And I was like, I remember calling my mom and being like, I'm quitting and I'm becoming an artist. And she was like, okay. And it was like, I think that the intention was there. And like, my parents were always like, we will support you like emotionally with whatever you want to do. But it's like, you just need to be aware that this is going to be something that is going to make your life kind of complicated. Not necessarily that it would be impossible. It would just be more hurdles to jump through.
Right.
And when I was leaving the job at Sam Edelman, I don't know if I mentioned that. That's where I worked the first time. I think I just wanted something that was a little bit more stable. When I was leaving Sam Edelman, I just wanted a job that was a little bit more true 9 to 5. The
Mhm.
hours were really crazy in the fashion industry and the pay was really low. And I learned so much at my first job. Like, I can't even describe. I got a crash course to life in the first, like,
What was your role?
I did. So the company's really small. It's like
Mhm.
80 people.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did kind of everything in the realm of marketing. So I did all the photography for the campaign shoots. I did alongside of Sam's wife and the founder, Libby. And she's a gem. And, we did a lot of work together, especially during COVID. That's really where I got into photography. And then I also did all the graphic design. There was one other graphic designer that I worked with, and then like literally everything else. Like it was such a small team and we all just kind of, it was very startup environment. So, but the whole time I just kind of had in the back of my head, like, I really want to be an artist. Like there would be random days where it would just kind of pop up like conversation and I don't even know how to describe it. It was just like, oh, you should be doing that. You should be doing that instead. All of it was for a reason that I think I worked there. The reason I know how to design patterns and why I am able to make the wallpaper is because my old boss from Sam Edelman, she's now the head of design at DDF. She is the coolest person I've ever met in my entire life. And there's one day that she just like gave me a lesson on how to make patterns. And she's been doing print design for years and years and years.
I want to talk about your job at Sam Edelman. I think it's so interesting working for a small company because I think you do kind of get thrown into everything. And it sounds like you've met so many cool people. I mean, Sam Edelman's wife, like, is that his name, Sam Edelman, or the
Yeah,
founder?
his name's Simon. They
Um,
both work there.
yeah, I mean, I think the fact that you're meeting these people and actually having a hand in the projects and seeing them start to finish, I think is really cool. And it sounds like you learned a ton. How was that different from then when you transitioned to JP Morgan?
It was a big switch in every way possible. Like the industry, the work-life balance, the structure of everything, the coworkers. Like I was the youngest person on my team by 10 years at JP. And I wasn't working in finance. I was working in the brand team, but my day-to-day went from like in office. We were in office at Sam in July of 2020. So like I was in office every day from then. And then at JP, we were hybrid. Now I think they're all back in office. But so it was like, and like the pace of work, like at Sam Edelman, just the fashion industry in general, it moves at like this. You got to be on it and ready to go at all times. And at JP Morgan, I'm not saying that it was like a good or bad thing. It was just a lot slower. And for what it was at the time, it was exactly what I needed because I needed something that was like much more relaxed. And I also, because it was a lot slower of a pace, I was able to kind of direct like much more energy to art, which is what I ultimately ended up doing. And that is why I was able to quit the second time and stick to quitting as opposed to the first time getting another job after hours time and before
Mhm.
hours time to dedicate to like and like mental space to dedicate to art and just all the other side hustles that come along with that.
Yeah, well, it's really funny. I was actually talking to a girl the other day who's in college, and she was asking me, this relates. She was asking me about the difference between like, oh, should I, go kind of full corporate route? Like, let's compare it to like your JP Morgan job, and then maybe pursue some of my kind of like fun passion projects on the side, or should I try to get a creative career in, whatever industry? And I was like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Both are totally valid, but I was like, if you go into a creative career, sometimes the pay is not as good, but sometimes it's like more fast paced and you're doing a lot of things and it might not scratch fully your creative itch. But when you have like a 9 to 5 corporate job, you have the space to be creative on the side. And this obviously it's not black and white, but I was talking her through it because she's, like a senior in college. And I was like, just like think about it. Cause I think people think like, oh, I'm going to go work for a marketing firm and it's going to be great. And it's all my creativity is going to come out there. And I'm like, you might still want like your time for your side projects.
When I first graduated, it was exactly what I needed. Like it was so great to work for somebody else and to work at a company, one where there were so many people to learn from. Like I just rattled off a few, but there are like endless people that I worked with, including Sam Edelman. Learning from somebody that's been in the creative industry for, 50 plus years is an invaluable experience that you get to have. Ultimately, why it was just my time to go. You do learn a lot. At the same time, the trade-off of that is like I was so mentally spent on my day, like working for somebody else, that I didn't really have the focus and the time to make my own art or focus on my own creativity. And when I look back now, like the only times that I was really able to do that was during COVID when we had nothing else to do. I did an art release, and then the winter break like of 2020 to 2021 when we had like another lull of COVID. That was the only real time that there was like a little bit of gap and rest to make something new. But yeah, like you said, it's definitely a trade-off. There's benefits to both.
Yeah. When you were preparing to fully quit your job the second time, what were you thinking about? How were you preparing? Did you have kind of a timeline? Walk me through that thought process.
Yeah, it ended up taking like a full year for me to really leave. And I think there are a lot of factors at play there. The first really like became something that I wanted to do last January. And I remember again ringing up my mom being like, "Hey, remember when I wanted to quit last time? I think I'm going to do it again." And they again were like, "Okay, but I think, you know, it was there were a lot of like small things that happened along the way of I didn't have a timeline. I was just in my
Mhm.
mind like I want to do this full time and I need to figure out how to make this happen. So last January, got that in my head, just started throwing myself into the side hustle. Like every day was like, okay, this is going to sound like you don't have to do it this way. This is just what I did. Like I would wake up and I'm a big journaler, would journal. This is what I want to do today. This is what I want to happen. Not like this is what I want to happen today, but long term, this is what I'm
Yeah.
working toward. And then I would go to work and come home and I worked a true 9 to 5, which was such a perk for the side hustle. Like I
Right.
knew 5 p.m. I could start everything else. So I would go to work, come back, work out, and then start working on job number two. And just really building like a client base as much as I could. I use Instagram, I use TikTok as much as I can. I think editing is like a beast of a thing. Like it takes so much time. So I wasn't nearly as focused on it as I had the time to be able to be now. But every single day, like it was one of those like my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5 would just do that, do that, do that. Like if I had 30 minutes in between meetings, I was like doing some. I don't know what I was doing. I was just doing something. I found a studio space in June. I was originally going to leave in June. There were like some things that happened on my team where I was like, oh, not the time. Can't do this right now. So I stayed. And in the fall, I was like, all right, we're getting close. I still don't know when this is happening, but the client base was really building and I was like juggling two things. I did a series release in the summer. I was just like saving, saving, saving. And then I remember there was one night in October where I had scheduled something during the day, which is a big no-no, but I did it. And the same time that I had it scheduled, I got a meeting put on my calendar and I was riddled with anxiety. I don't know why that one thing, like I very easily could have just emailed and been like, hi, I can't make this meeting. But it was like, I do not know why, but there was something in me that was like, this is it. Like you can't do this anymore. This is like, you can't just keep trying to do both at the same time. Did not sleep one single second that night. Woke up the next day, didn't wake up, got up that physically out of bed the next day, went on a walk, came back, asked my boss if she could meet at 9:30 and told her that morning that I was resigning. And it was a long offboarding process for a lot of reasons. One being the pace of how they work in a big bank. It just made sense for me to finish out projects fresh in the new year. So anyway, that was a very long way of saying that's how I got there. It was so long. Like my official last day was February 17th. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy. But I think it's really, I don't know, refreshing to hear because I think a lot of people romanticize like quit your job and be a full-time artist. And I think it's really nice to hear like how people actually do it and what it actually looks like. It's not like, oh, you're just gonna quit and everything's great. Like sometimes there's a little more to it than that.
Totally. And it's not like I romanticized it. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be such a dream. Like just like leap and everything will work out perfectly. And it unfortunately it is leaping 100%. Like immediately the door closed, it just has been like things fill in immediately after you take something away. But it's a lot of active work to get there. And I don't want to undersell that part, but it's like the most rewarding thing you could possibly do. Like working to something every single day that is what you really want to be doing is like the most fulfilling thing in the world. So
Yeah. I mean, I've worked for myself pretty much since college. I mean, I've had side jobs and stuff like that, but I know the thrill, the hustle, and the good, bad, and the ugly of working for yourself. When you get up in the morning and you're excited to, even if it's work and some of it's hard, but you're excited to be moving in the direction of something that you're doing and making a difference in, I don't mind waking up early. It is totally different. You probably aren't that excited to wake up because your job's not as fulfilling, or maybe it is. I don't know. I'm assuming it's not, but
like wow, Sunday scaries, like oh my gosh, I never have to experience that ever
it's
again.
so nice.
Yeah, there are perks for sure.
We'll talk about your first few weeks because it hasn't been that long since you've been full time. How have you jumped into it? What has it been like? Any
Yeah.
lessons learned yet?
So many. So funny enough, like the day that I went to turn in my computer to my office, like ironically, none of my team was there. And I was like, okay, well, 3 years.
Anticlimactic.
Like, all right, bye everybody. But one girl was there and she's so sweet. And we were just kind of catching up and she was like, so like, do you know what you're gonna do tomorrow? And I was like, well, I'm flying to Savannah and I'm doing this photo shoot for this. And then I get back and I'm doing my own photo shoot on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I'm launching the wallpaper. Like it was like I had so much because took so long to kind of like get everything done. So it's been really good. Every day is different. Like there's something new every day that happens that like, just the way of life. Like today, this is so fun. Like what a Wednesday. And so it's been a lot of the photography has been great. I do freelance photography for LVMH too. I've done that for about 2 years now. And that's been a great side hustle because the clients that I had there are so great and it just adds another element to my resume. That
Yeah.
was a very long way of just saying it just adds diversity to what I get to do day to day. So I do photography and then the art stuff or like the painting. I haven't been as good about going up to my studio as of late because the wallpaper has kind of taken over the painting, but I have a few commissions that I'm working on that gets me to go to the studio, and then, every day is different. I just
Yeah.
jumbled up.
It's true though. I mean, every day is so different. Can you explain like the wallpaper launch? Can you talk us, because I know so many artists I work with want to go into textiles or launch something like that, and you did it so quickly. Or, I mean,
It's
since
here,
going full time,
actually. Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't actually quick, but can you kind of walk us through how you learned, like how you figured out how to do it, and then like maybe your launch strategy?
Yeah. So I learned print design from, like I said, my old
Mhm.
boss at Sam. And print design is like so slept on. Like it is, if anybody out there is an artist and they're like, what do I start experimenting with? I couldn't recommend it more. It's so fun. It's also, I think that with painting a lot, everything is so one of a kind. It's the definition of handmade. Like it's so creative in like the best way and like the worst way, because every single time you want to make something new, you like physically have to make it,
Yeah.
which I love so much, but it's like not I was actually made a video about this today, but it's like it's more of a like an escape thing for me. It's like
Hmm.
a stress reliever. It's not something that I ever put any pressure on. And doing that as my full-time job really stressed me out a little bit
Yeah.
because, it's something that I love so much to become the breadwinner, I guess.
Right.
So was thinking about prints as a way that is actually scalable too, because, print design is universal. It can go on anything and it can go anywhere. And so last November, I was kind of playing around. I don't even know what I was doing. Like, I don't know. I love wallpaper. Like, I just love it in general. And I love interior design.
So,
And I just was playing around with pattern design, did a little bit of research on different types of patterns and block print, half drop, all that good stuff, and then just started playing around with it. Randomly, like had a very intense addiction to Greek mythology in the winter, and I didn't have a logo forever. It was just my signature. And while I was making my logo, which is like a picture of a girl holding nine paintbrushes,
hmm.
like it all has little meanings to it, but it's from like the statue of Venus de Milo. And while I was making that, I made this pattern that is like this Greek toile, and I was like, this has to be on wallpaper. I need this on my walls. And then I did all this research. I found this vendor and I launched a wallpaper collection. So from start to finish of like first pattern design to actual launch date, I launched on Valentine's Day and I started print designing in October. So it was about 5 months. Um,
How did you like, okay, so you explained how you made it and kind of your story, but how are you actually working on marketing it and getting it to people?
Totally. I really have just been using Instagram and TikTok. And I have a really good friend that she does scarf design. Her name is the Clearly Collective. And
Hmm.
if anybody listening like doesn't know who she is, please look her up. She's so great. Her name is Liv. And she was such a great friend to me with in terms of just like giving me ideas for how to market everything. The main way that I have chosen to do it is at least like in the format of Reels and TikToks is just tell the story of why I did the things that I did and how I did the things that I did, as opposed to this is it. And the Greek toile wallpaper that I made, it took so long to design that I wanted to tell people, and it was so thought out that I wanted to make videos about it, explaining how I got from point A to point B. In turn with that, that wallpaper is a bestseller because I think that it's one that people like understand the most or
Hmm.
like have had the backstory and the context of the most. So I guess one is storytelling, two is high quality photos, which is something that I like am very like I grasp the importance of because I've done it
Yeah.
for so long. So I booked a studio that I used to work with at Sam, and we did a photo shoot there. That was a hilarious day because I like would set up all the shots and then hand my friend the camera and just like go stand and she would take the picture and we would look at it. Okay. Go back, and it worked great. Like the photos are fabulous. So that was number two, was just making sure I had the great product shots. And then three the website. I spend a good amount of time just making sure that everything has great UX design. I made a wallpaper calculator that I put on the website so that
That's huge.
I want you to be able to see, oh, this is how she made it, this is why she made it, this is what she made. You go, you look at it and you're like, that's a high quality picture that I can actually see. Go to the website. I have all these mock-ups made of what the wallpaper looks like in a bathroom or wherever it is.
No, it's
I
really
like
interesting.
what also is really important to me is that I think that like or what I love about brands that are really successful is that there's like a person that they know or that there's someone that they can see that is like actually making everything. It's not just this like elusive figure. And I don't really have any interest in like being an influencer necessarily, but I like talking and I like people in general.
Mhm.
And like I want it when I'm marketing, I want to market things that are product facing, but like me making them, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like as an artist, but also as a creative and a business owner, I don't see myself as an influencer, but I do see my voice and my opinions being very important to my brand. So I think you have to show up, but it's an interesting way to think about it because I think people think that means you're trying to be an influencer. And it's like, no, but I do have to show my face so people know because people care. Clients want to know the person behind the brand. So it's this really interesting dynamic that I've also had to figure out.
Yeah, it's so weird. And I think also being in New York, and I'm sure you experience the same thing in Charleston, like this is a hub for influencers, and Charleston is too. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like some of my closest friends are influencers and they like kill it and they're doing amazing and like that is so in their niche and it works. But I that's something that I'm like trying to figure out the balance of. I want to make sure that people understand that like it is me making it and like obviously it's my name. Like Lucy White Art is like my
Right.
actual name, but I'm not, I don't know.
Well, I
I
think
don't wanna-
what you have already said that I think is so smart is the fact that you're telling the story and like your touch and like how you're creating the stuff and like why you're creating it. And I think that's like your voice coming through. And then I think also the fact that you did a photo shoot and you're in it and you're like in these photos with the wallpaper. I think that's starting to bring you into the brand more and more. But I do think it is interesting. I used to feel really weird like being on camera all the time. But now living in Charleston has helped because I literally walked out of my office a couple days ago and there was like three different people taking photos like on my block alone. And so I was like, okay, I got to get over it. But I do think it is like we're in a new world where one, people want to buy from brands that they know, they like the founder. I think that's really important. Like all the people I follow and like a lot of the artists, especially I support, it's because their art's good, but I also like them. Like there's something about them that's intriguing or interesting to me and it gives the art more depth. So I think that's really important, especially for like a small business.
Totally. Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
And I think you're doing it well. I also think the whole photography thing is so smart. I think having good photos makes you look professional right away. I think a lot of people probably, if they've come across you before and now are listening to this, probably didn't know you've only been full time since February. Because I think if you have good photos, it's a way to sort of make people think you've been doing it and are more professional maybe than you are, if that makes sense.
Agree. I think
Yeah.
that like half of life is just smoke and mirrors. Like it's literally
Literally.
this.
Fake it till you make it. And like we never really make it.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing about like when you were saying like the people taking pictures on your block or whatever, like I was the same way. There when a year ago, me recording a video or even honestly like talking on a podcast, I would be like, oh God, slowly getting better at it. But ultimately, like what helps me is just be like, no one gives a shit. No one cares. Like no one
Truly.
cares. It's like speak and say what you want to say and you're fine. Just go with it.
Exactly. And I think once you really start seeing the payoff of like even just hearing from people, I know for me, it's like even when just somebody says something in my DMs and they're like, this was really helpful, or like this was so interesting, or absolutely love it. Like you hear those things and you're like, okay, it was worth it for me to be a little bit uncomfortable to put this out there to have somebody say this. Well, kind of going a little bit more big picture, what do you see next for your business? So what's on the horizon? I know you just launched Wallpaper, but kind of what does the rest of 2025 potentially look like if you've thought that far ahead?
Oh yeah. I'm very exciting. In April,
Soon.
I'm moving to Paris, which I'm very excited about. I'm temporarily, I should say that with a caveat. So that's what's next. So my life is like broken up with pre-Paris and post-Paris. I have no idea about post-Paris. I'm leaving mid-April and I'll get back at the end of May. So it's about 6 weeks and I'm really excited for that. I have no plan. I'm just kind of taking it day by day. I'm going to do a lot of sketching. I want to take art classes, go to all the museums and learn about art history there and get as much inspiration as I possibly can. That's my next step for 2025.
That's
That's insane.
huge.
I haven't, yeah, that's, but I'm very excited. So,
Yeah, I feel like that'll be a catalyst for your business too. Not saying you need it, but I do think, I don't know, I feel like a lot of big artists I follow do some kind of like big event, like they travel or they live somewhere for a year and then all of a sudden their business, I don't know, I just feel like that's part of so many artists' stories. And so I feel like you're going to have this incredible time in Paris and who knows what's going to happen while you're there. You'll figure it out.
yeah, it was actually kind of crazy. There was a girl that posted in a Facebook group, and I was just like, sitting around typing away. And one of my friends sent it to me and said, you should do this. That one ended up falling through. She wanted someone to live in her apartment in Paris while she lived in their apartment in New York. So, like the holiday,
I was about to say
basically.
like the
So,
holiday.
for the holiday. And
Yeah.
I was, yeah, sign me up. That one fell through. The girl that was like in her apartment wanted to extend. So she didn't need another apartment in New York. But at that point, the bug was in my ear and it just got in my head. And I just started rattling off texts to anybody and everybody that knew somebody in Paris that maybe would want to do this. And I got connected with this really sweet girl named Brigitte. And we were swapping apartments for 6 weeks. So,
That's
yeah.
so cool. I mean, I think that's really cool. And also, that's the beauty of working for yourself. It's like, just do it. You can just go for it. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what happens. You'll have to take us along on your ride.
Wow. I was like, do I do vlogs? But then again, back to the influencer thing, like me waving around a camera. I don't know if I have that in me yet, but we'll see.
We'll
I
see.
will.
Well, I'm excited about that. I want to round out with just a couple of things that might help some other artists. Have there been any challenges that you've dealt with kind of up to this point in your career? Things that have been, maybe just like stumbling blocks that you have worked through and you feel like maybe lessons have been learned or anything like that that you can kind of share with the audience?
I think the stumblings that I have more to do with contracts and
Hmm.
clients. I think, well, it's like a twofold. I think one, have the right, if you have, do you work with designers like a lot or, okay, great. So have contracts in place, like especially if you're working with new clients, because I was going off, it was a wild, wild west on my end for a long time. I just was kind of going by handshake and word of mouth and under the impression that everybody is kind of operating like oh yeah, like we're just like gonna be I'll do this for you and you're gonna pay me and pay me on time and like the rate that I
Right.
told you. And that's just unfortunately not always the case. So I guess contracts is number one. And two, I think is just being confident in how much you're pricing things. Like struggled with that for years. I mean, I've been painting since I was like 15. And when you start at 15 or 16 or 27 or 40, anytime it's a struggle. But like my idea of what something should cost at 16 is like so different than like what it should be now. And I remember I was in college and we had a sorority event and I was selling paintings and I was selling them for like $15. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making so much
The
money.
concept of
Fun.
money, I was the
No,
exact same way. I would sell my art in college and I'd be like, $10. Heck yeah. Like, what are we going to do with this?
let's go to Chick-fil-A. Like, what are we doing? I am rich. It's on
Like,
me.
lunch on
Like,
me.
exactly. And now, living in New York and paying a rent that is not $15, the concept of money is very different. So I think not undervaluing yourself as much as you can is so, so important. And my mom actually told me this like when I was, deciding. I did a series release last summer and she was deciding how to price things. And she was like, you're not pricing it for the hours just now that it took you to make this. You're pricing it for the hours that it took you just now and all the years before that that you learned all these skills up to this moment. So like, every single time that you release something, you learn something new and in my opinion, you can you can price it a little bit higher because your audience has expanded, your skill set has expanded. That's such a tricky balance because it's a free market and it's so hard to know as much as you can. Valuing your ability and talent is very important.
I mean, I would say the vast majority of artists I work with undercharge. And I think especially too, what I tell people, because I was the same way in college and like even, I mean, I started working for myself right after college and I was pricing for what I thought I could afford, which obviously what I could afford at 22 was like $15, especially working for myself. And I think that's a lesson I keep telling other people too. It's like you have to think about who your client is and what they expect to pay for fine artwork and pair that with what you just said of all the time that went in to make you this talented to paint this thing. That's a really important takeaway. Too many people just charge way too little and then they burn out and they're not making enough. And it's like, we got to make our time worth it.
That's so true with the clients. It's like the people that you want to be selling to are expecting to pay something that's much higher. And if you price it as something much lower, they're like, well, is this
Right.
even
Well, especially if you're working with, I mean, not just designers, but especially if you're going the designer route, like they kind of know the market sometimes. And so they're going to be confused if you're priced super, super low or like vastly below all the other, artists that they're working with.
totally?
Well, this has been great. Can you share how people can follow you, go to your website, learn more about you, all that stuff?
Yeah. First of all, this has been so fun and thank you for having me. I like just spewed at you for 45
That's what
minutes.
this is.
But you can follow me at Lucy White Art, and my website is Lucy White Art, and everything, it's all across the board, Lucy White Art. So that's where you can find me.
Love it. I'll link it
Instagram.
too. That's super easy.